Welcome to Movies Down Memory Lane, the show where three friends get together and talk about the movies that mean the most to them. Merry Christmas, everybody! Happy holidays. Not, we this will be the last show of the year, so I didn't quite. This was my pick, so I didn't quite pick a Christmas movie, but I think this movie really fits in to the holiday season anyway. I think it's really nice. So we'll get into that. But of course, I'm here with my two friends here, Andrew Cabral and Dan Skip Allen. How you guys doing?
I'm all right.
Yeah, same here.
Cool.
Same here. It's been a week. I don't know what it is about the last part of the year. I get incredibly anxious about like the last part of the year, as if there's a ticking clock and like the year's ticking down. So I want to like fit as much stuff that I wanted to do this year within that time frame. Ironically, where this movie talks about time and certain aspects of it, so
Sure.
we'll get into all of that. But yeah, it's the holiday season. It seems to be a little hectic and stressful for many people.
Usually how it goes. Dan, didn't seem like you were as great. What's going on, buddy?
Busy, man, working 2 jobs the last 3 days.
Yeah.
So it's been kind of busy and just trying to watch screeners, and just then I have to fit in watching this before the show tonight. So it's kind of busy. Plus, I have a cat right now.
Obviously, yeah.
The cat right
What's the
now.
cat's name?
His name is Booger.
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 So inspired by the great character from the Revenge of the Nerds movie?
Nah, he's real slippery.
Ah, okay.
Sometimes he can be a little
I mean, that's
slippery.
not what boogers are like, but I mean, whatever.
They tend to stick to things.
Yeah. He's
He
very
can be-
sticky. He seems to be sticking to you.
He won't take no for an answer on a nap now. We're take a nap.
I have a cat the same way, but he's learned to not bother me if I'm down here doing this, talking. He can't hear anything that I'm talking to, so he's just talking to this screen. He's kind of learned to not come up here and bother me. Sometimes he'll come around me, and I have to pet him for a second and shoo him away. But like, he doesn't jump up here. He knows this is Daddy's area.
He wants to take a nap. This guy wants to take a nap. Right.
Well, let him sleep on you. But let's not sleep on the movie that we're talking about tonight, which is the 2013 film About Time. And not in that way, not in that sense, not like it's about time. It's like literally about time, which sounds like a movie that was written for Andrew Cabral, because literally he mentions the passing of time
in every
some
episode.
Form or fashion, everything. Every one of the. If you ever talk to Andrew, the first thing he'll be like, "Hey, I haven't seen you in a while. It's just like yesterday," or like, "Man, it feels like this week is." Time is a thing for him. So a movie that's literally about time, and it's called About Time. It's right up his alley. But if you don't know the film, it stars Domhnall Gleeson, the son to great actor. What's his first name? Brendan Gleeson. Thank you, Dan. And then we have Rachel McAdams, and then we have a whole slew of other actors. Bill Nighy's kind of the other main notable actor in the film that plays Domhnall Gleeson's father. But the film is kind of it's kind of a straightforward movie. It's directed and written by Richard Curtis.
Richard Curtis.
Yeah, Richard Curtis. He's mostly known for writing a lot of popular rom-coms, notably Love Actually is kind of one of the big ones. But this one, you have your main character who's Domhnall Gleeson, and he finds out, and this is like the very beginning of the movie. It's not even a spoiler. It's in the trailers. It's in all that stuff. That the men in his family have always been able to travel back in time through a very interesting, simple thing of just literally finding a dark spot, clenching your fist, and thinking about where you want to go. It's all very simplified. And we'll get into it, but some people have a problem with the time travel elements in this movie. But I think that honestly, the time travel stuff is kind of almost secondary to like the rest of the movie, which is mostly about life and about like finding essentially happiness. And I will say it coincides with Christmas. Being present, I think, is the main thing. Like presents are at Christmas. This movie is about being present, being in the moment, being what you figure out about how time travel is used in this movie is that you figure out that you don't really need it by the end of the movie. You're like, hey, I used this to take a second glance at things that I didn't notice the first time when I went through life. So we'll get into it. But I guess we'll Dan. How do you feel about time?
Well, the one thing I noticed about it, rewatching it, I watched it when it came out in theaters and stuff. The cameos. I mean, look at that thing. Richard Griffiths, Vanessa Kirby, Margot Robbie. When you watch this the first time, you don't know who these people are. Now they're people that we know who they are because they've been in major movies. They're stars, or they've been in like major franchises or something like that. It's like, holy crap, Richard Griffiths, Margot Robbie, Vanessa.
Also, was it Richard E. Grant is in one scene?
Richard E. Grant's in a cameo. Yeah,
along with the other actor too. What's the other actor's name that's in the play?
Yeah, Richard.
The older is that no? Yeah, there's two of them
from Harry Potter.
Yeah, both of them are. Well, yeah, is that the name of the other actor? Richard.
Yeah, Griffiths.
Griffiths. Okay. Yeah, I know he passed recently.
Harry Potter. Yeah, he's one of the Harry Potter people that has.
He was the one that played the dad, the Dudley.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. Dudley Dursley's father, Dursley. Yeah, and I say, wow, I didn't realize all these people were in this movie until you rewatch, because you knew already Rachel McAdams, Domhnall Gleeson, and then the other thing.
And Domhnall Gleeson wasn't even a known commodity yet.
Yeah. I mean, he had kind of just coming on into his own at that time too. Yeah. Obviously we knew his father,
Brendan Gleeson.
Brendan Gleeson. But the other thing is this, it's like, wow, what a freaking great power to have. I definitely go back in time and do a few things that I would love to, or fix a few things that I regret having.
There's a few, I guess people would consider loose rules when it comes to this. We'll get into it. But yeah, so yeah, you liked it when you first saw it?
Oh yeah, I liked it when I first saw it. I mean, it's, you don't get a lot. I mean, these days, hindsight is 2020. These days, there just isn't a lot of good. I mean, a lot's even pushing it. There's not many good rom-coms at all anymore. And this is like in the 2000s where there was more rom-coms than there are now.
Sure.
And it was a relatively good one, and now it's like, wow, man, you just watch this. It's like, you're telling me somebody can't come up with, like, I just watched Ella McKay last week, and it's like,
yeah.
And then, oh my God.
Well, I think this is for every movie, not just rom-coms, but I think particularly like rom-coms, which can be grouped into comedy and stuff. A lot of what it is about what makes them things good is the casting, is the chemistry, is the things like that. And I think a lot of times movies like this, maybe they have a good script, maybe they don't, but even if they do, if you don't have the right actors in play, and sometimes the right filmmaker making it who can kind of drive, because I think the main goal of a director is to get great performances, not necessarily the visuals that you think that directors have. A lot of that's the cinematographer. I mean, let's be honest. But when you're talking about getting performances out of actors, working with people, collaborating, that's the director's job. And sometimes you just don't got the right players in play. And I think that this particular movie, though not everybody was well known yet, you had Rachel McAdams, who was already known, mixed in with a lot of unknown and people that, kind of just playing bit roles. It just all kind of falls into place, I think, perfectly. And I think Domhnall Gleeson, especially with being the lead, is so kind of,
in a way.
Well, he's so unknown at this point, and I think even to now, it plays to his benefit because, and it almost to me he almost feels like a what's the actor like a Tom Hanks, like he almost has that very like everyman charmingness to him that a Tom Hanks would bring.
Even like a Ben Whishaw, if you want to go British, she's kind of like like you think about Ben Whishaw being like the nice guy.
Yeah, but is he playing in a lot of lead? Is he leading?
I would say that's an even more obscure reference. I don't think a lot of people know who Ben Whishaw is.
I saw him in a movie recently called Peter Hujar's Day, and it's like
that's the guy that plays James Bond's gadget guy, right?
Yeah,
Hey, he's cute,
but he's also the voice of Paddington and
the voice of Paddington. Yeah.
I know who he is, but he's not really leading movies.
No, but he should be. It's the type of guy that would be a lead guy today if he got a chance at something like this. You know,
a more recent person that fits, I think, his mold is Jack Quaid. Jack Quaid. You know, he's got that. He's got that. You know, everyman kind of like innocence about him. He's not like got like the good looks of like. He doesn't have the good looks of like a, you know, like a Brad Pitt. You know, he's not like that type of leader. But he's like somebody that could play somebody on the street. You know,
and that's I think the charm of this movie is it very much is from the focal point of the everyman, or not even so much the everyman, but a specific type of everyman who is very introspective. Like the whole movie has a narration in it throughout the whole thing.
Yeah.
And you can feel like that's his inner monologue or inner thoughts of, you know, his life and his observations of life and his, you know, his inner thought process. Sometimes it's a little bit too on the nose where like, I don't think you needed this narration there, but oftentimes it's very observant to kind of give the audience a perspective of being, you know, on this character's journey, like from their perspective, like putting them in the movie themselves, which I think is really nice. I think that's what really makes this movie incredibly personal are those aspects of it. And the fact that it's so, the themes of it are so, I think, real world-esque. Like who wouldn't want to go back and change certain moments, even things that you did, you know, an hour ago or things you did minutes ago, how you replay your introduction into people's lives. Like, you know, sometimes you bumble, you stumble, you're socially awkward. It's like, damn it, if only I like said this instead of that, or did this instead of that. Even those small moments, this movie, you know, plays on that idea. What I really liked about it upon the rewatch is the fact that you don't really need this large sci-fi world explanation of how time travel works, because it's not really the point. The point is kind of what I was just saying. Personal choices, the ramification of personal choices, going on this character journey of realizing that, you know, not everything needs to be perfect because life is not perfect. You know what I mean? Stuff like that. And of course you get the whole personal story within the film as well, which is a very much a tearjerker, which Richard Curtis is known for, kind of playing with audiences' emotions and stuff like that, which we've talked about here in, you know, in various movies and whatnot. And yeah, I hadn't seen the movie probably in 10 years. I was looking at my Letterboxd. The last time I logged it was February of 2015, which was several lifetimes ago. Talk about time. Talk about time. And Donald Gleason, at this time when this movie came out, this was before I think anybody knew who he was. He hadn't really done much. Like this would be before he would be in Star Wars. This would be before he would be in anything.
He had some he had a couple appearances in Harry Potter as
that was brother. After this. Because I think that was before this. No, because Harry Potter ended before this. Yeah, he was in Harry Potter, Deathly Hallows Part 1 and Part 2 as Bill Weasley. But after this, he was in that indie movie Frank, which I don't think anybody remembers.
I do because I have it and I love that movie. Yeah,
I watched it twice in one day because
Michael Fassbender is Frank
with this big old plastic head on, this lead singing of a band.
That's a fun movie.
I remember that. He's in, of course, Ex Machina for me. I think was his like kind of
that's kind of the breakout movie.
That was the breakout for me, and. Yeah, then after that, he's in Star Wars: The Revenant, and then I'm just looking at his IMDb right now, and you know he still works up to this day. But I think Rachel McAdams, like you guys said, had already been in a bunch of things in the 2000s. Of course,
Well,
she was
she was the
in Mean
big kind
Girls.
of romantic lead at
Mean
this
Girls.
time.
Yeah,
Mean Girls. Well, more notably, what's the Ryan Gosling one?
Nope, The
The
Notebook.
Notebook. That's the big one. You know?
She was in Wedding Crashers, which even to this day people still talk about.
Yeah.
But she was but she's such an interesting aspect of this movie for the Donald Gleason character, because at the heart of the movie is, like you guys said, is kind of that romantic, portion of the movie.
Well, he
Because
says it. He says it at the beginning. Like, I mean,
Yeah.
like he asked when his dad asks him, when his dad first tells him about the gift, he's like, "Look, we're not going back in time to kill Hitler or anything.
we
You
can't
do that. You have to go back within your own life." And so, like he says after his dad explains, he's like, "This gift was always going to be used for love. It's not going to be used for personal gain, like making money or any." I mean, even though his dad kind of talks him out of it at first. He's like, "What do I do? Go?" He's like, "Well, your grandfather tried that and see how good that turned out."
Yeah,
It
and like
didn't
your
turn out
great
good."
uncle tried it, it led to ruin.
Yeah.
So there is like kind of a moral, rules to all of this.
The best way to use the gift is to use it morally and not try to, gain so much from it.
And so what you're saying is like the first thing he says, like, "Oh, I'm going to use it to get a girlfriend." Like that's his
essentially,
mindset.
and that's such an innocent choice.
Yeah, and you have to
You know,
keep in
you know.
mind that he's like, I believe he just turned like 21 or
21,
something.
yeah.
So this is a young man's mindset here. You know what I mean? So it's like, what's a young man's priorities? Early 20s. What are they thinking about the most? Women, or any type of other romantic dalliance and whatnot.
Yeah.
So it's like that's what he's going to use it for. And initially, he wants to use it with Margot Robbie. Talk about someone who no one knew at the time, because this was the same year that she had her breakout role in Wolf of Wall Street, coming out
God,
of
if you
absolutely
saw
nowhere.
Wolf of Wall Street and you saw what you saw in that movie, and then you saw her in this movie, you're like, damn it, God, you're missing out so
it's
much.
like, yeah, and I mean, she went on to be, a massive international star, and so she's in the movie very briefly, but she is kind of like his pinnacle idea of lusting after a woman or whatnot. Like even from the moment he sees her, it's like he has that awestruck moment.
Yeah, his time he spends with her, he spends like a summer with her. She stays at their house. It's almost like a Ingmar Bergman film, kind of like, oh, I spend the summer with this girl, and
it's like Summer with Monica.
Yeah,
an Ingmar Bergman movie.
Exactly.
And he's just kind of like, and it's interesting. He's kind of he starts playing with the idea of moving through time, because what we understand is he can, like Stephen said, you can only move backwards within your life, and you can only go back to moments that you've been in directly, pretty much.
Yeah. So just a brief synopsis of the rules. You can only go back within your own life. If you, for instance, if in this case of the movie, if he has a child, he risks changing his child, going back past it. So kind of once he has a kid in the movie, he can't really go back past that, or he risks changing something about his life. And then technically he's not supposed to share this idea with anybody else, but he does eventually share it with his sister, which some people have a problem with in the story. And I'm like, I don't understand like it's a choice that has been made, but I don't know that it's a role.
Not only that, because I think they just do it just to not complicate things, because there's really no grand ramifications other than the fact that you see that something like that can change something dramatically.
Sure.
Because, spoiler alert, we're not spoiling the movie. He goes back and kind of changes his sister's life, or the trajectory of it. And it changes various aspects of his life and other things. And so that's kind of the reason why you don't do that, is because you can change things dramatically. It's the butterfly effect, You don't have to explain the butterfly effect. You've seen the movie, but you understand the concept. But that's the thing. It's so interesting how that movie, you can't mess with time.
No, you're right about it. I mean, that's obviously you knew once he learned how to do this, okay, this is going to go down a rabbit's hole of him doing stuff he shouldn't be doing. You know what I mean? But the things I noticed about it that were things, and I was going to ask Steven about, like, where's the relatability to you? Because I thought, like, the wedding, the little girl, those are things I noticed. I said, "Oh, I could see why Steven would like this movie. These are things that might be relatable to him." What did you think of those? Having the daughter, and the wedding, and the weather, and the craziness that went along with that, And you had your wedding during COVID, and you had a little baby girl and stuff. I thought there was a relatability there, maybe that you could relate to.
Well, nowadays, for sure, it grows. Now, when I saw the movie in 2013, or even before I met my wife, all that stuff, I think at the time, what drew me to the film was just the idea, and this is still, I think, the prime thing that draws me to the film, is just this idea of, just being present, being, like, as they say, stop and smell the roses. Like, people, we go through life like just trying to get by and like kind of rushing through things, but there are a lot of moments where we could take the time, and it's not easy. If I had time travel, yeah, I could go back and replay the day like he does in the movie and look at it differently. But it's something good to always keep in your mind. And I think that when I saw this movie, it really opened my eyes to the fact that little small things that I do could have a big effect on somebody's life. Whether it's being nice to the cashier, or, like, you should never take all that for granted. Anything you do could have a ripple, any little thing. And so I think that
the small things.
Yeah. This movie plays the small things up as being the most important things. And I think that that's just a great lesson and a great attitude to have towards life, is to not take any of it for granted. It's not easy, but it's a good mindset to try to have. And I think that time, I was in my late 20s when this came out, so like I'm kind of in a place where I'm like, I'm a little lost in my life. I'm working, I'm getting by, but I'm not really, I don't have a lot of direction. Like I said, I hadn't met my wife yet. A couple more years later, God, I don't meet my wife until 2019. So it's like, I think for me, even to today, it's about this movie's outlook on life and about how it just kind of has that really positive. I love this movie because it's almost like it's a cozy movie. I call this like a cozy movie. It's like,
really,
it's a life affirming movie.
I would kind of had the opposite effect on that.
Really?
I don't mean to cut you off, Dan, but
No, go ahead.
Not the opposite effect, but this movie is incredibly emotional, specifically towards the end. I think the movie kind of rattles you emotionally.
But and see, this is I think it depends on your outlook on the subject of death. I think that's what you're leaning towards.
Yes,
but I think there is a bittersweetness to that end. But I think it's life affirming, because I think we have to, when it comes to death, we have to all come to the realization that that's the end for all of us. So there is no getting around it. So if you have the mindset that as the movie goes in, it's like, well, don't take life for granted. Use it, look at every moment.
It does play into that.
Doing that, then we're living our life to the fullest.
Very much so. I mean, to cherish every single moment, I think, is an optimal theme throughout the movie, specifically towards the end. I mean, because like you're saying, Steven, this movie does play on the idea of how does time travel work regarding death. You know what I mean? If there's somebody very close to you that passes away and you have the ability to time travel back to before that event happens, how does that work? And the movie plays on that you can do it over and over again, but sometimes something's going to happen in your present that's going to affect that. And the movie the movie plays on that with the idea of new life. So playing on the idea between new life and death very interestingly. This idea that you have to let new life happen in order to let death happen as well. Very interesting. So for those of you who haven't seen the movie, or for those of you who have, you know what I'm talking about, is that the Bill Nighy character, who I thought Bill Nighy was excellent in the movie. I've always loved Bill Nighy as an actor. Yeah. Like, I think he's great in like every single role I've seen him in. And he's great in this movie as the father who is kind of guiding his son oftentimes throughout the movie. He pops in every now and then, and he's going to pass away, and Domhnall Gleeson's character keeps going back to visit him after he's passed, and he's got to eventually sever that connection because he's going to have a new child. And once like Steven said, once you have a new child, you can't go back past that point, or else you can dramatically change events. So it's incredibly hard for the Domhnall Gleeson character to do that. And for anybody who's experienced loss in real life, not movie loss in this case, but like that's an incredibly, traumatic thing to work your way through: grief, emotion, and all of that. And the movie's very much commenting on, not severing that tie, but moving onward with life in a way. Because the movie, like you said, Stephen, does kind of play on those ideas of like letting life continue without time travel.
If anything, he got to do it the best way anybody else could. His dad died, and he still had a chance to actually kind of slow it until he realized that he couldn't do it anymore. Because
that was because that's what I was alluding to. I was going to ask you: do you think his dad knew what? Like, he was kind of pushing him away from Margot Robbie. Do you think he knew where his son's life was going?
I guess it's possible that he's already lived way ahead of where Domhnall Gleeson is. But I
actually never thought of that.
Because it seemed to me like he knew something about something, because he basically put a subliminal message into Margot Robbie to say, no, I don't want to date you because you came to see me on the last day that I'm here for vacation. And then when he went back a day before, well, come back and visit me on the last day. Like there was something going on. Like he knew, he made her basically say, no, I don't want anything to do with you. Like he kind of, I feel like his father knew something that
it's possible.
It's possible, but it's never hinted at.
Didn't know about until later,
I think it's possible, but I also think that because his father is the person that was built up in the movie, I don't think he would have messed with his son's life trajectory like that, especially when it comes to love. Like if it was the path he was going to take, it was he that's why, it's his gift now. He also has the gift now. So it's like, he's got to let him, unless something happens to him that, like in the sense of like death or something where he can't change it himself. I don't think his dad's going to interfere in his love life.
And that does lead to kind of another kind of almost side theme. This idea of fate. How you're like fated for certain things to happen, for you to meet certain people, for certain, life trajectories to happen. And so perhaps he was, the Domhnall Gleeson's character was fated to meet the Rachel McAdams character no matter what. You know what I mean?
It was what was funny too. And initially, like I thought negatively towards him, and for a second, like the first time I watched this, because there's a whole thing where he goes on a blind date. That's how he meets her for the first time. And then he has a great time, and it all goes well. But then his roommate, who is this friend of his father, who's like a playwright, and he's really douchey, but he's also kind of endearing. He has a play that goes on, but it goes really terribly. So he decides, and this is the first act of, genuine kindness he shows. He puts that date he just had in jeopardy to go help his friend's play go right. So now he misses the date he had with her to go help his friend. So then he has to find a way to find her again. And he goes through this whole process of trying to find her. The only thing he knows is that she really loves this particular artist, Kate Moss. So he goes and like hangs out in this Kate Moss museum for weeks looking for her to show up. And she finally does. But now, of course, she's never met him before, because he went back in time and they never had their date. So now he has to re-win her over again. But unfortunately now she's dating somebody in that time period. So now he has to, and this is where the first time I watched it, I was like, this is kind of douchey. So now he goes back in time to mess up their, like she met this guy. So now he's got to interfere in this relationship to break it up. But technically he came first. So I guess it's not technically wrong.
Yeah,
But
but
That's where
You're
the
right.
time gets really convoluted. That's where the time stuff kind of becomes a little convoluted.
no,
And it's hard when you deal with time in movies. It's hard to get it right, and that's the script and stuff like that. And that can get really convoluted when you're going back in time and you're fixing this and you're and that. But this movie gets it right. It doesn't completely screw it up, which I've seen time movies do that.
I think this movie plays it pretty simple.
yeah,
and
it's pretty straight.
it's pretty straight. I think the only thing that gets on people's nerves is the roles that were set up initially, and then they kind of get like somewhat broken throughout the movie, whether it's the sister thing, or him and the kids, going back and forth, and then him being able to go back and fix it seems like some kind of playing fast and loose with the roles. But I think ultimately it's in benefit of like the story, like when you try to play, because the movie has time travel elements, but I wouldn't consider this a time travel movie. It's not Back to the Future. You know what I'm saying?
Interesting that you say that. Because it features
It's
time
just
travel
it's just
so
like how
much.
people like Die Hard and they say it's a Christmas movie. I think that Die Hard's an action movie with Christmas around it.
So
It
how
was
would
a
you
rom-com with
categorize?
sci-fi elements?
Yeah, I was gonna say, how do you categorize this?
This is a romantic comedy.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's a romantic comedy.
Sci-fi elements.
I think the time travel element's like third down the road. It's down the road. It doesn't matter as much. Because if you looked at because if you didn't know that there was time travel in this movie, you would think it was just a straight up comedy romance.
Yeah,
if you didn't-
and it was kind of like I said earlier, whereas the time travel is part of the movie, but it's not really the main focus. Like he's
Sure.
not going back in time to stop a play. It's not Tenet. You know what I mean? He's not going back in time to stop
Sure.
to
And you
stop
know what's
things and make things happen.
exactly. And you know what's
stuff.
unique, and it's not grand world stakes or anything like that.
Right.
But the other thing too that's unique about it is that the time travel mechanism is themselves and not a machine or a crystal or some sci-fi element. It's just something that's inherent to their DNA, apparently, in their time.
Explain that because it's so secondary or even third factoring to where, like they don't say why. They don't say, oh yeah, it's been in our family forever because of
whatever
reason. Like they don't even.
It doesn't even matter that much. It's just a device to help us.
Yeah.
To put our main character in a situation where he has to deal with life in a different way than most normal people do.
Yeah, it's almost it's the movie almost feels like and this is not a detriment to Richard Curtis in any way, but it feels like just something that a concept you would come up with just off the top of your head. Like, whoa, what if we could time travel? What would we do? You know what I mean? Oh, when I was young, I'd be using it to get, a significant other. I'd be going.
You know what? Another movie that plays
yeah.
with this idea, kind of like something that people say out, like you said, thing that somebody just says in its everyday life. What women want.
Oh, yeah.
Well, Mel Gibson now can hear women think. What if we had to get, what?
Yeah. What if we could do that? What if I could read people's minds?
Well, women's minds specifically.
Or in that specific case, but just in general.
But yeah, it's like
what would I do? Like, what would it be like?
And they don't play that particular. I mean, they do give it a little bit of an origin where he gets electrocuted and it just somehow gives him an ability, but like it doesn't play it up too much. It just ends up becoming a part of the story. But it's more about the characters and what the characters go through, and not necessarily the mechanism that leads them to this.
It's more about what the character experiences rather than how he experiences it. You know what I mean? Because then the movie builds from there, like the relationship between he and Rachel McAdams. What's a great scene in the movie is the scene where, like, years later, like he and Rachel McAdams are already in a relationship, they're living together, and he stumbles upon Margot Robbie's character again.
Yeah.
And he's matured to the point now where she's not the epitome of his desires anymore. You know what I mean? He has a more strong, stable, mature, adult, you could say, connection with Rachel McAdams. So therefore, he's able to resist Margot Robbie essentially throwing herself at him. And that in that moment, he's like, this is a life milestone. I have to ask Rachel McAdams now to marry me because I've just
Well,
Like my final test has been completed.
I
You
mean,
know?
honestly, you're really not batting very low if your Rachel McAdams is already waiting for you back at
True,
your
true.
apartment.
But I'm
But
just saying,
also,
like, yeah, you're exactly.
but
From our
also as a
perspective, it's like
man,
you win either way, my man.
well, I
You
was
know?
like, I mean, if you just, I mean, to have that you know, ability to restrain himself also is great. But also, if you think about it this way, well, she's inviting me in. I've already won. I've done it.
Mm.
Now I know that I could have her, but now I don't have to because I have Rachel
Right.
McAdams back.
Because
you
I
know,
have something more meaningful,
way
more
more meaningful,
special
yeah.
to me, more powerful.
Something that's going to
to me.
last beyond tonight. You know?
Yeah, so he's
Yeah.
matured, through his experiences, which is a whole other philosophical thing. How we, this idea that we grow as human beings because of our experiences in life.
Yeah.
It, that's the way kind of you're supposed to. I guess that's how life really goes. At least it's supposed to go.
Supposed to,
So the
yeah.
movie's playing on so many different levels, and the movie itself aesthetically almost feels like an ethereal dream sometimes. And the fact that like it's so small and so focused, it's only around his character and even where his parents live feels like this secluded area, like out in the woods, like apart from London and apart from the city. So
Yeah.
even then, the movie feels so secluded and so isolated. And the movie is also dealing about isolation. Like he presumably, from what we understand, is he and his father are the only two people that can do this.
Well, I don't know about that.
It only
I
goes
think
through his family.
I think the uncles got the ability. It's just because if you look at the uncle, unless he's got dementia or something, I don't know. But it seemed like the uncle at various things doesn't remember certain things, and you have to remind him who people are and whatever. And I'm thinking maybe that has to do with him going back and forth in time himself, because he's a male and he's the brother of the father, right?
I don't. Is he the brother of the father?
They never say.
I was going to say he might
just
be the
refer to him
brother
as
of
an
the.
uncle.
He might be the brother of the wife,
Oh,
which
okay.
then would
If that's the
exclude
case-
him from the gift.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you're right. But he seems a little odd and like there's something going on with him. I
Well,
don't
no,
know.
I think he has like a mental disability or something.
Yeah.
So, yeah,
You can clearly tell that he I believe he lives with them and they probably
Yeah,
take
yeah.
care of him. I mean, that was
Oh,
they don't
okay.
really get into that, but you can kind of tell because he's always there every
Yeah.
time he visits his parents.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah, I
And I
think he's. I believe. I want to say he's probably the wife's brother. But that was his character kind of plays. I haven't really thought too much about his place in the film, but I did love the scene where he's like, greatest day of my life was when your dad told me he loved me.
Mm,
And I like he doesn't remember a lot of things, but he remembers that.
yeah. That's
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
that lead that's a lot because there are certain heavily emotional things like that you remember. You know what I mean? Like powerful moments like that. Yeah, I mean they've talked about those in various fantasy sci-fi movies of like anchor moments or something like that, or specific places in time that are significant enough that it's stuck there permanently. And I think we have those a lot in our lives as well. And so that plays on that, but that's a small part of the movie. But good call, Steven. Good call.
Yeah, I mean, there's tons of moments in this movie that just called me, and it just I mean the music too. The music has got this kind of like, I think it plays into like what you were talking about how the movie feels. Like it's kind of got a kind of small focus, even though that some of the movie even takes place in London. Like it still feels very intimate. It kind of makes me think about, there's a lot of piano music. It's very kind of slow moving and methodical. And I just, I mean, there's some moments where it heightens up and stuff with the music, but it's a very low key score. And it's got a great theme.
That's the whole dreamlike scenario of the movie, because the movie is kind of almost fantasy-like. The idea of love, time, like the fairy tale sense of love and whatnot. I mean, it's not quite Princess Bride, which is the kind of more straight fairy tale, but it's got that same vibe to it.
And like some people might look at this movie and they'd be like, oh, well, the main character is like obviously from like a rich family. Like it's like that, like they're not like, it would be more of a fairy tale if this guy was like from a low class family and this happened. You know what I mean? It would
It's
be
a
like
little Aladdin-esque.
that's what I'm saying. Like it would be that would make it more of a fairy tale. This is more of just a movie that wants to talk about something, and you could have made it about somebody from a different race. It wouldn't have mattered, like just sitting
Yeah, because I think the themes are so universal.
they're universal.
Yeah.
It's just a choice, and I think for the type of characters that maybe he wanted to write in the script, this just worked. A family that's kind of from a long lineage of people, and of course, if the men in the family had these gifts, they probably did gain some type of monetization over the years, because we know the great grandfather did use it to get money, so that probably became inherent to the rest of the family, even though it probably ruined his life in some ways, as his dad said. But yeah, I think at the heart and soul, the son and the father-son relationship is kind of the heart and soul of the movie when it comes to the characters.
That's what I got out of it.
I mean,
you really got a father-son relationship in this movie,
and that's always really important to me as well. We talked about that with Field of Dreams, which was another one of my picks, and yeah, I think obviously what the great chemistry between the two, and the obvious, like, how he brought up his son is they're thinkers. They both are they think about what they do before they do it, and so, like the father's been essentially living life twice for a long time. He's been able to go back, read, as he said, I read a lot of books, so he's like just kind of being able to live life longer than most people would be able to, just because he can travel back in time.
Yeah, I mean, I'd love to be able to go back in time and just do things that I could, like, keep all the stuff that I had back in the 80s when I was a kid, keep all the baseball cards, keep all the comic books, keep them all in pristine condition, keep all the toys.
Dan would have ran this. He would have tried to, like, gamble and stuff. He would have tried to
he would have been Biff with the almanac. Trying to get all the money.
Get all the money.
Bet on the Patriots. Bet on the Red Sox when you're not supposed to bet on the Red Sox.
Yeah, if you'd have got that 2004 year, you would have been.
I would have had the FBI down on me. How did you know?
How did you get every pitch?
Yeah.
That temptation would always be there.
Sure.
I think, to do all that, because
I think the toys, though, in the comics and the baseball cards and stuff, they couldn't have. You couldn't have gotten in trouble for that. If you kept the stuff that you had as a kid, kept it in wrappers, kept it in boxes, kept it in pristine condition, that sort of stuff, you there's no way, because your mom and dad bought you that stuff. I would have to tell my brother, Dave, don't worry. 40 years from now, we're going to be rich. Just do not.
That's a long time to wait.
Don't open this stuff, David. Let's keep it in boxes. 40 years from now, we're going to be rich. You just have to play the long game, keep all our toys in packages and keep our comic books in perfect bags and boards in pristine condition, and get every baseball card. Don't sell my baseball card collection and keep it, because I had, like, cards going back to the 70s at that point, but that would have been I've always said that if I went back in time, I go back to the 60s, because there's so many great collectibles that were. And plus the 63, what a great year. I just feel like 63 would have been a great year to go back in time.
I wouldn't waste my 20s as much. If I had the mind I have had more in my 30s, I wouldn't have wasted as much time in my 20s. I feel like I wasted a lot of time. I mean, there was some good stuff in there, but, like, God, I'd have been hustling more in my 20s. Trust me.
I definitely would have. I would have not gotten sidetracked and got into coaching sports, and I would have really tried to focus on my film criticism career at a younger age, and that might be more beneficial for me today.
Well, yeah, that's part of what this movie. Like I said, it makes you really think about, what we do, the day-to-day things, the little things. And how, and I think the movie highlights a lot of them situations, not just, I think time travel movies that with that element like to highlight big things, but this movie uses that mechanism to highlight the small moments.
Not only that, but I also think it makes you kind of, like what Dan was saying, is, you know, you wanted to go back and do certain things or start certain things early or whatnot. But some of those things are not too late. And there's the small aspect of the movie that is the thing with the sister is this idea that she has, you know, she's got a bad relationship, she's got an alcohol and substance abuse issues, and those are things that can be fixed in the moment. You know what I mean? Obviously, it would have been better had it been fixed earlier, but in the movie, it plays on the idea like, you know, even though Donald Gleason can't go back because he does go back and fix that.
He tries to go back and fix it,
and it doesn't work.
Well, it works, but
it works, but it changes things.
He changed his daughter turned into a son.
Yes, so he goes back and back to the original way, but then when he's in the present, he starts changing things by getting his sister help, having her break up with the terrible guy that she's with, getting her to seek help and whatnot. So you can fix like those things. It's not too late to fix that. And I think the movie is also kind of saying it's not too late to do, a lot of other things.
Well, I hinted that at the beginning of this podcast where I was like, by the end of the movie, he comes to the realization that he finds that he doesn't even use it anymore, because that was the start of it, where he was like, well, I can't go back. I can help my sister now. She's still alive. We can fix this. I just gotta put the effort in and make sure my sister's okay. And then from then on, he came up with more and more reasons to not use it, and just tried to live every day, as he says at the end, like it's his last. And these are things that it's all very like kind of on the nose.
Yeah, it's stuff we've heard before. Like, we've heard the sayings and the phrases.
Yeah.
It's the way it's revelatory.
Yeah, but to put it in a film and to make it the way they did, with the earnestness and the charm and the right actors, the right characters to play them characters is just it turned into it's to me, like I said, I look at this movie as life affirming and cozy. I think it makes me feel good about life, even though because even with the sadness, because that's part of life, even with people passing, with people getting hurt. Like, that's the stuff you have to sometimes take in, and you can't have one without the other. So that's why I find it to be a really nice movie. And honestly, God, if this was set at Christmas, it would be a fucking perfect Christmas movie.
The interesting is that the initial part of the movie set on New Year's, so that's about as close to the holiday season you're gonna get.
Yeah.
That's close.
I was thinking too, as like not just to rehash what we already said, but if I didn't get into coaching, and maybe I wouldn't have turned into an alcoholic and stuff. Yeah. And so stuff like that. When you think about the sister, you think, oh yeah, if you don't do this, you might not do that, And so who knows what your life would end up being if you don't do some of the things you did that caused you to make the mistakes that you made. You know what I mean?
Yeah, sure. But in a way, the time travel mechanism in the movie is just kind of an allegory for the idea of being reflective on your life.
Yeah,
it's about even if we didn't have time travel, you could still be like, okay, well, take that out of the movie. If the characters was just taking the time to think about his life and think about all these moments and what he would have done differently, then that's what he's doing. It's just, in this case, he can actually go back and do something about it. So I think that's a clever idea, and the way that the movie deals with it is I think a lot more subtle and clever than I think people give it credit for. And honestly, I didn't realize people like this movie as much as I do, because the it's got a pretty high rating on IMDb. I know that's not the end all be all, but it's like a 7.8. That's pretty high for a romantic comedy.
The cynical land of the IMDb. It's also pretty well rated on Letterboxd too.
I remember when did it come out again?
2013.
Maybe it was on the back end of at the movies, because they had multiple hosts at the time. I remember somebody, either it was Ben Mankiewicz and Ben Lyons were doing it at that time, or A.O. Scott and somebody was doing it. But they reviewed it, and it got really good reviews. They really thought it was a good movie. Because I remember watching. Maybe it was Richard Roper at the time. I can't remember, but I watched it and I'm thinking, yeah, these guys are smart. They know what they're talking about. This is not a movie that takes itself too lightly. It's got some serious moments to it. The time travel means something, and like you said, it was a reflective tool to be reflective of your past and the things you did and what the father. Obviously, you didn't get a lot of the father, but you could tell there was something about the father.
Yeah, I mean, he was, to me, he's the safe place. Anytime he needed like his dad was always there to talk with him.
Yeah.
And he just oozes. Bill Nye oozes wisdom. He's like he's the wise father you want to come back to when you have a problem, and he
might have been a good
say the right
Dumbledore. If what's his name wasn't true, he would have been a good Dumbledore. I think I liked him as Dumbledore.
Well, he did play a character in Harry Potter.
No, I know he did. He played he played the Minister of Magic, the vampire.
Yeah, later on in the series, he replaces the Minister. Yeah. I maybe, I don't know if he's got quite the whimsy that the actual Dumbledore is supposed to have from the books. But yeah, I mean, he's a good actor. I mean, I'm sure he
loving when what was it, In Memory, or in what was it called, the Rashomon remake or something? Where was it?
The Akira remake.
Akira remake. You could see that he really brings a gravitas to the roles that he takes. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No,
that's
great.
That's why he was so good in this. I really did he brought a gravitas to this role in this movie that made it a little bit more like not as much as comedy as a drama. It's more of a drama than a comedy. Even though it was a rom-com because it's a relationship movie, but he was just like you said, the grounded character in the movie that really meant something.
Well, I like the moment where he has to tell his son that he's got cancer and he's gonna pass. It's gonna happen, and but he's already going. He himself is already going back to have more time, and he has that moment where he's like, well, I mean, like, Jesus was God's son, and he couldn't even get away. Even though their power can't keep them from dying. Can't avoid death, and that's and that's like what I said earlier. That's what's so life affirming for me about this movie, is it even in sadness and even in death and even in all the things that happen in life, there is a lot of joy and beauty around that you can take note of, but you have to be looking for it. And that's,
no, you're right. I agree.
This gift gives them that opportunity to be able to really look at the good stuff in life and not take it for granted.
Yeah.
I
I think, Stephen, I would definitely put it at good stuff. I mean, it's
I was just gonna say, where are we going with the philometer? I know, Stephen, you're clearly obsessed.
Yeah, I mean, look, it's not the same kind of obsessed as like something else that I'm, I would consider more intellectual, or something that I'm like I can have really long conversations and still, like Inception or something like that. It's like something I really love on different levels. But I think when it comes to enjoyability and how it makes me feel, this movie will always bring feels to me every time I watch it. Every time I watch it, there'll be multiple moments in the movie where I feel something, and that's the most I'll ever want. That's like the base. That's the prime thing about going to the movies and watching cinema. That is the most important thing to me, is being able to feel something when I watch it. And that's what this movie does for me. And that's why it's still so important to me, is that it always makes me feel something every time I watch it. And
the worst thing a movie can do is make you feel nothing.
I mean, or be boring. And,
it's like, well, I mean, because then it feels like a waste of time. No pun intended. But this movie is very much not that. I've seen people describe the movie as a warm hug on Letterboxd, which is a very interesting type of feeling. But yeah, About Time, for me, it's definitely good stuff. I'm not quite at the obsessed level, because like I said, I hadn't seen it in 10 years. I think the reason why is because the movie is incredibly emotional roller coaster for me. dealing with time, dealing with death, two things that I ruminate on way too often, let alone to have a movie that combines both of them in such an emotional way. I don't want to be exposed to it too much. It's like hitting a root nerve. But yeah, the movie is definitely still holds up too. For a movie that came out 12 years ago now, it's still really, really meaningful.
Yep. Well, that is it for this Movies Down Memory Lane. I meant to point this out at the beginning. Why in the hell is Andrew wearing the same shirt as me?
Yeah, I was going to say, we are wearing the same shirt.
I mean, I can't tell if it's
gray
exactly
and black flannel. I missed the memo for the gray and black flannel.
I mean, I can tell you this. On my end, this shirt's more sepia tone than it is black and white.
Okay.
Gotcha.
Is
mine
yours
is more straight up black and white?
Okay, so mine is technically a little different because it's like a sepia tone, like kind of a dark tan.
Prison? Were you guys in a 1950s prison movie or something?
Sometimes you feel like it.
But
you're gonna take big rocks and make them into little rocks. Samuel L. Jackson from Django.
Yep. But that is it for this walk down memory lane on Movies Down Memory Lane. Next time, we'll be in the new year, and it'll be Andrew's pick. What are we talking about next time, Andrew?
So we will be kind of in the same time zone as I don't know what it is about movies from 2010s. I guess we just hit us really hard.
Me and you specifically are picking a lot of because this is when our prime time when we were becoming movie fans. Kind
of cutting our teeth in movies, really. Yeah. Going back to also 2013, I believe, or that 2013-2014 corridor, is the movie Her with Joaquin Phoenix. The Spike Jonze
I haven't seen this one since it came out, so I can't wait to watch it.
This movie really hit me hard when it came out. Talk about a movie that was hitting me on a very personal level in terms of things that I ruminate on constantly. The idea of human connection and isolation and the ever search for meaningful connections in life. Spike Jonze does not direct a lot of feature films. He's only directed like 3, maybe. Being John Malkovich, the adaptation, and this movie. Everything else, if you look at his IMDb, is mostly.
I was gonna say, did he do Where the Wild Things Are?
I think he did Where the Wild Things Are. Yeah. So 4 movies. But I don't think he's directed a feature film since this one.
I don't think so.
I was looking at his IMDb, and it's all like shorts, music videos, commercials, things like that. Yeah. But Her is a movie that definitely had a meaningful impact to me back when it came out. So we will be getting into that in 2 weeks' time.
Awesome. Yeah, I haven't seen that one since it came out. So I can't wait.
Talk about a trip down memory lane.
For sure.
I mean,
yeah.
Literally.
Yeah. I've seen it a couple times since it came out, but
okay.
It's a huge movie. I'll tell you that. I know a lot of people that it's one of their favorites.
Okay.
It's weird to me.
Well, we will check it out in a couple weeks, guys. Thanks everybody that was here with us tonight, and anybody joining us on audio. Please subscribe to either the podcast feed or the YouTube channel. Of course, you got Chasing Labels. We have the Unwatched pile coming up. Pay attention to Blu-ray reviews. Every month we typically get a new batch of Criterions that we get to talk about. And this week, tomorrow night on the 21st of December, we have the new episode of Movie Mutations dropping, the Christmas episode where we mutate Home Alone, the classic Christmas film. So be ready for that. All right. Well, that's it for tonight. We'll see you in the new year.
Happy holidays, everybody.
Movies down.